All right, episode 446 with Bailey Obrien, which was an awesome interview, and she was just amazing, and it was really a touching story. But this show is brought to you by Amazon.com. If you guys like our work and you are interested in what we're doing and you want to support us, go through our link on Amazon. You can bookmark it if you like and use that bookmark every time you make a purchase. But think about us. Every time you make an Amazon purchase, think about Justin and Kate and the work that we're doing here at Extreme Health Radio. And next time you make an order on Amazon, it doesn't have to be health related in any way. It would just be very supportive of what we're doing, and we would appreciate it a lot. And if you can remember to use our Amazon link every single time you make a purchase, we would be so appreciative of that. So there you go. That's it. Thank you for supporting us on Amazon, and let's get on to this particular interview with Bailey Obrien. Well, it is good to be back in the saddle.
From
Lake Tahoe.
What'd you think?
It's our yearly pilgrimage, our yearly vacation that we take.
I loved it.
Yeah, we posted a lot of pictures on our Instagram, and it was such an interesting trip.
It was interesting.
It was fun, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. The run-in with the bear was a little bit thrilling.
Yeah, Kate, that was about, how far were you? About 30 yards from a bear?
Yeah. He was 30 yards from me.
Yeah, that's right.
I wasn't looking for him.
Yeah, he was looking for you.
I hope. Seemed like it, didn't it? But we prevailed.
We managed to survive a bear attack.
I know.
And the story gets worse every time we keep telling it.
It's good. It's so nothing.
The bears are bigger every time we tell the story.
Right. Tall tale. It is good to be back, though, with everybody.
It's great to be back. We're excited. We got a great show today, and we're going to be talking about cancer. We're going to be talking with Bailey Obrien and her story of skin cancer, and so it's going to be really good, really encouraging for people. This is episode, let me check really quick and see what number this is, 446. So if you would like to listen on the website and get links to her website, BaileyObrien.com, you can go to extremehealthradio.com/446. And as probably many of you guys know, we are doing more shows a week now. So we're doing about 3 shows a week, which is a lot of fun. And in lieu of show notes, we're doing more shows. So I hope that's agreeable with everybody, but that's kind of what we have to do in order to get 3 shows a week in. And so today we're going to be talking with Bailey Obrien, and I heard about her through our friend Chris Wark, who's got a great website. I always refer people to his website, chrisbeatcancer.com, and he's doing a lot of great work. He has his own cancer story, and he was on our show really early on, a couple years ago. Mm-hmm. So we had him on, and recently he did an interview with Bailey about her story, and I just thought we had to share this story with everybody because cancer is such an epidemic. I think worldwide, 21,000 or 22,000 people a day die worldwide. 1 out of every 3 men or women get cancer, 1 out of every 2 men. I mean, it's a great plague of our time. So, this is a big issue. So, thank you so much, Bailey, for being on the show today. We really appreciate that.
Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. So, first of all, how long ago did you talk with Chris? When was that?
I spoke with him. It was the end of April.
Oh, just this past April.
July. Yeah, 3 months ago.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And that was on, I think, your website, BaileyObrien.com, and I saw it through his website. I love what Chris is doing. It's so cool. And so you were familiar with Chris before you did that show, weren't you?
Yes, I was. I'd been following him for a couple years.
So you had been following him, and you initially got yourself a diagnosis. Your story is pretty back and forth, but it started in 2011, didn't it?
It actually started back in 2007 when I was first diagnosed with melanoma.
Oh, I thought it was 2011. Wow, 2007.
Yeah. No, the part where it got most interesting was 2011.
Oh my gosh, so take us back to 2007 then. What was going on then?
Well, I was in my first semester of college at Boston University, and I noticed a mole on my right temple that had changed a little bit. I had this little bump under what looked like a freckle, and I thought it was a pimple, so I tried to pop it, but it would just bleed. So I realized, all right, I have to show this to somebody. So I showed my mom right around Thanksgiving, and she was like, oh my gosh, Bailey, why didn't you show me this sooner? Because she was just about to drop me back off at school. And I was like, well, you know. And so she's like, I'm ready to turn the car around right now and bring you back home. And I was like, Mom, I can't. I have school. I have practice. I have all this stuff going on. Finals are coming up. So she made me agree to go back home the following weekend because I lived in New York, so it wasn't that bad of a trip to go back and forth and see a dermatologist. So that's what I did. It was the first weekend in December. I went to see a dermatologist, and he removed the mole, and they biopsied it. And I was waiting for the test results and kept checking in with my mom, and she said there were no results. So I finished up my finals, my first semester away in college, and I came home, and I walked into the dining room, and my dad was there, and he's like, you should sit down, and I think you know what this is about. And I was like, starting to get defensive. I was like, no, I don't. What are you talking about? And then they told me that it was cancerous.
So when the doctor was doing a biopsy of it, when he removed the mole, at that time, did he say, oh, something looks suspicious here, or did he say anything?
He really didn't think it was anything. I mean, at least that's the way he acted. He was like, oh, it's probably nothing.
Wow.
But, yeah.
So how long in between when you actually had removed from your skin until you talked with your parents that day?
It was at least 2 weeks, maybe 3.
Wow. So during that time, were you nervous at all or not?
I think I was pretty naive. I wasn't that nervous about it.
Wow.
Yeah. Nobody expects that coming at them
I
at
know.
a young age too, you know, and you're probably...
I was 17.
17.
Oh my goodness.
I knew nothing about cancer.
Yeah.
So then when they told me that, I was like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what to think about right now. I was like, am I going to need chemotherapy? Am I going to die? Or is this just nothing? It's just on my skin, a little mole. I had no idea.
So do they give stages when they do that? Do they say, oh, this is stage 1 or 2? Or do they even say that with skin cancers?
They do stage it, but I needed further testing to find out what stage it was.
Oh my goodness! So
where'd you go from there?
Yeah, what was good? Yeah, what happened after that?
Well, unfortunately, my first appointment was the day after Christmas, so I was like pretty bummed that Christmas. I met with, I think it was an oncologist, and he told us what next steps we would need to take, including removing like a 2 centimeter or 2-inch diameter piece of skin to make, it was called a wide excision.
Okay.
To make sure that they had removed all the cancer from the skin in that area, and then replace it with other skin, because it was on my right temple, so the skin was pretty tight, and he's like, I don't know if they're going to be able to close that up all the way, so you might need to take skin from your arm or your neck or something
and graft it.
Yeah, exactly, skin graft.
Wow.
And then they would also inject a tracer at the site of the mole and see where that would spread, or where it would go if the cancer were to spread. So those were the next 2 steps. I did the wide excision and the skin graft, and also the tracer injection, which they had traced to the sentinel lymph node in front of my ear. And that was all on the same day. It was a long day.
Yeah, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Wow. So that was all on the same day. So the tracer didn't go any further than the ear?
It did. It went down to under my armpit, but the doctor didn't think that it would be necessary to explore that area as well. They just they biopsied the lymph node in front of my ear.
And what'd they find with that?
They found that it was positive for melanoma.
Okay. Wow. And so what was going on at 17? Do you think that could have precipitated any of this? Do you know?
Right. I think that people ask me that sometimes. What do you think caused your cancer? And I think there are a lot of things that may have caused it. I think there's so many toxins in our environment, especially our food, just things that I was so ignorant to. I remember one time my mom was like, oh, I bought organic milk. And I was like, yeah, and? Like, okay. Like, I don't care that it's organic.
Yeah.
But there's so many toxins in our food, in our environment. I was a diver, a springboard diver, so there was chlorine and chemicals in the pool. I didn't eat many vegetables to begin with, although I was interested in nutrition, and I didn't really drink soda or go out to eat fast food very often. I don't know what I would eat. I would eat whatever looked good. And
as a 17-year-old, I mean,
sure.
Most people aren't really focused on their diet, you know.
Yeah,
That makes
and
sense.
I was on a Division I sports team, so I exercised a lot, and I didn't really need to watch what I ate as much as someone who's less active does.
Was the sports team for diving?
Yes.
Wow. Did you go in the sun a lot, or was there any exposure to sunlight, like excessive in your life before that, do you think? Or
I didn't spend that much time out in the sun, but when I did, I usually burned. Even though I reapplied sunscreen, and plus the toxins from the sunscreen,
right,
I'm sure contributed. They make the sun exposure even worse. And then with stress, I was incredibly stressed. Moving away from home, I was extremely homesick. So I'm sure that contributed a lot to that impact on my health.
That is amazing. Golly, at 17 years old with a diagnosis like that. Did they ever get that stage for you in your journey? Did they ever tell you what stage it actually was?
Yeah, they staged it at 3. And I did have another surgery after my sentinel lymph node biopsy. They removed 45 lymph nodes from my neck and tested all those, and those were all negative, fortunately. So then I did 1 month of interferon treatments, which weren't really shown to be effective or ineffective, but they said it might decrease the risk of a recurrence. So I did that. And then I also had the option of doing 1 year of booster shots once a month, but I declined that because they said that the effects from the treatment would make me tired and feel kind of sick, but I wanted to go back to college and live a normal life. So I did the 1 month and then stopped at that.
So what is inside those interferon shots, and what are the booster shots related to the interferon? I don't even know what interferon really is.
Yeah, I'm not super familiar with what it is exactly, but it's similar to a chemo, and it's an immunotherapy treatment. So you get an infusion like you would chemotherapy. I had to sit in the chair with the IV in my arm and let it go in over the course of a few hours, like 2 to 3 hours.
So how long did you say you had the interferon?
I did it Monday through Friday for about 4 weeks.
Monday through Friday. And how long was each session? Were they really long?
It depended on the day. Sometimes it would take me a while to get into the treatment room, and then they'd test my blood. And sometimes I would have to go home without treatment because my white blood cell count was too low.
Oh. So they based that off the day.
Yeah.
Holy mackerel.
And then it would take a couple hours for the infusion to go in.
And so the booster shots, were they related to the interferon, or were they something separate?
Yeah, no, they were interferon. But I didn't get those.
Okay. Wow. So at this time in your life, did your parents, were they interested in natural treatments for things, or how did that whole thing come into play?
Not at all. None of us were.
Oh, man.
I'm just laughing because of how our mindset has shifted so dramatically.
Oh, it's crazy, isn't it?
It went from a gallon of organic milk to
Yep.
today. Oh, yeah, I bet.
We trusted our doctors implicitly, and we really believed that the government and the doctors and their training were all going to protect us and do the absolute best for us that they could. Mm-hmm. So we listened to the doctor's opinions and what they believed would be the best treatment for us and for me, and basically went with whatever they suggested.
Wow. Okay. So at this point, you had really no interest or no understanding of what was going on in the alternative health world. So would there have come a time and come a point to where if the doctor recommended something that just seems too crazy for you at that time, where you would have started saying, hey, there's got to be something else here?
Yeah, I don't remember exactly all the options that they gave me. I guess that was one step back that I took with not doing the booster shots of interferon for a year. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't have gone along with absolutely anything. I did have some restraint about that, but I mean, if they made it sound really good, I probably would have.
Well, yeah, because we're trained in our culture to just trust no matter what without really asking any questions or without asking for research support for things. You know, doctors have these placards on their wall of what schools they went to, and we walk into doctors' offices and, you know, we have no idea that, I don't believe that they fake that stuff, but I mean, none of us really ask or question our doctors really anything. And you know, and so, you know, learning all this through this show, it's just amazing what we take for granted, what they tell us. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of crazy. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you would think that 12 years of training would qualify them or better qualify them to give advice than, you know, listening to what people would call quacks on the street. I love that. Kate and I were just talking recently about alternative medicine, and it's really not alternative because this is the medicine that's been around forever.
Years. Right. Yeah. The Western's been around for about 100 years.
Yeah, Western's been around for 100 years, and we think that's conventional, that's standard, that's the way to go. But it's interesting. That's only 100 years old. Yeah. So now you had the interferon for 4 weeks. And then what happened after that? Probably more testing? After that, my oncologist at Sloan Kettering said pretty much, I don't think this is going to come back. You can go live your life. Just get scans every 6 months. So that's what I plan to do, and that's what I did. I got PET scans every 6 months, and the scans were fine for about 2 years, and I was going back to school for my senior year, and I had gotten a PET scan, and my mom was like, you know, maybe we should wait to unpack your stuff until after we see the doctor and get the results of your scan. And I was like, really, Mom? Are you serious right now? Wait, so you were going back to school at this point or back home from school? Oh, sorry. Back to college. Back to college. Oh,
Your
wow.
mom has stepped in both times and been like, I think you should probably come on back.
Yeah.
Mom, good old mom.
I was like, well, no, I'm going to unpack my things and we're going to go to my appointment and everything's going to be fine. So I was a bit frustrated, but we unpacked my things into my room, and then went to my oncology appointment. And lo and behold, my doctor said that there were a couple areas of concern on the scan, one in my intestines and one behind my jaw. And the spot behind my jaw had actually shown up 6 months earlier, or maybe it was 4 months earlier.
Okay.
And it had intensified. So it was suspicious for melanoma.
Okay. And that was behind your jaw, and then you had another spot in your intestine.
Right. And my doctor said it could be nothing, but it was definitely something that we should look into. So I went to see a gastroenterologist, and I decided that I wanted to do a colonoscopy to make sure that it was nothing. They said I could swallow a little camera pill and it would tumble around and take pictures and show what was going on inside, but the best way to know what was going on was the colonoscopy, so that's what I decided to do. And that tested negative, so that was good. But I had a needle biopsy behind my jaw, and they said they would give me the results right then and there, but they did not. They said, we want to just be sure we know what it is. So I think it was like a day or two later, they let us know that it was melanoma.
Behind your jaw.
Correct.
So this would have been like 2009, maybe?
2010.
2010. So this is a couple years after 2007, the original thing. And wow.
Bailey, had you changed any of your dietary protocols at that point, or added any kind of exercise or detox in, or were you just kind of living your life hoping it wasn't going to come back?
Yeah, my mind was not in that place at that time. I just lived the same life I lived before.
Okay.
So,
I mean, with a little more appreciation for life.
Sure.
But pretty much the same.
So were you doing, I'm curious if you mentioned the organic milk a while ago, but I was wondering because, a lot of people understand that milk has these proteins in it that could be, I guess, concerning about cancer. Some people say it causes cancer. I read a book a while ago. What was it called? Oh gosh, all about the milk and dairy industry. I forget what it was called, but he was going on and on about how milk causes cancer. Were you taking any dairy products at that time?
I actually drank a lot of milk. I would probably drink 3 pretty big glasses a day.
Wow. Even after 2007 and the initial diagnosis?
Yeah.
Well, you had no idea. You hadn't put that all together. I mean, who would?
Yeah, who would put
know?
that together?
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I didn't think my diet really had much to do with anything. I mean, I knew I should have more vegetables than I was eating, but in general, I guess I had more of a lackadaisical approach, and if I ever get it's so strange. I thought if I ever get sick, then I'll deal with it then.
Wow.
Wow.
But then I would still deal with it with drugs. So
isn't that crazy? So your diet when you were growing up was never like a main issue of anything. Your parents, and do you have brothers and sisters?
Yeah, I have a younger brother and an older sister.
And so they, so you guys weren't really. I mean, diet wasn't a focal point of your family life at all, I would imagine.
Right.
Yeah, it's so common, people just...
I'm right with you.
Yeah. I mean, same with me.
Same thing.
Yeah.
Right.
You grow up and you just eat food that you think is real food, and you drink milk and you have no idea where the milk's been or where it comes from. And
I mean, we even grew up eating salads every night, but it was the iceberg lettuce with all the conventionally grown vegetables. You just don't know. And God bless our families for trying to add in vegetables, and they did their best, right?
Wow.
Right.
Wow.
Oh,
so what happens with your so at that point, I'm just so curious, what happens with this jaw thing? What were your options?
Surgery.
Really?
And then radiation.
Oh gosh.
Surgery and radiation. So
yeah.
Now that was behind which one of your ears?
My right.
Your right
side.
jaw.
And that's the same side of the temple that originally where the site was?
Yes.
Golly.
So it spread down your jaw. So how long was the surgery for that?
The first one was, I believe, about 6 hours, 5 or 6 hours. And the surgeon said he didn't see anything that looked like melanoma because usually it's darker than the surrounding tissue. And he said there was a slight chance that he had missed it, but he wanted to get an MRI done to see, what was going on. So I had the MRI, and then it showed that it was still there.
After the surgery?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
He had missed it by a millimeter.
Oh, my goodness. So during that 5 or 6 hour surgery, he never even pulled anything out.
Exactly.
He dug around a bit.
Yeah.
Oh
He was very careful. He came highly recommended. And I know he did his best, but it's probably just a fluke. Everybody makes mistakes.
Wow. So when you came out of surgery, I bet that had to have been disappointing.
Oh, yeah. It was really disappointing. I remember going out to eat with my mom after the doctor said that he didn't see any melanoma. And we were like, well, if there was no cancer there, then, what am I going to do? I could get a job and make a little money because I had taken a medical leave of absence for the semester.
Wow.
And I was like, I'll just have fun and hang out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we toasted with champagne and then came back and found out that it was cancer. And I was actually with my grandma in West Virginia at that time, and we were in Payless looking at shoes. Uh-huh. And I got the voicemail from my doctor, and I just broke down. I was so disappointed.
So what did he say in that voicemail? Because when he did the surgery, he couldn't find anything. Yeah.
Well, he said that the scan, the MRI showed that there was still a mass there, and it wasn't exactly the same shape, but the tumor was still there, and I needed another surgery.
Oh my gosh. Oh. How big was were they showing that the mass was?
I think it was probably about an inch in diameter, or maybe a little smaller.
Oh man, that is
I don't remember exactly.
Wow, so you probably just were devastated.
Mm-hmm. At this point, was your mental state, obviously you had your breakdown in Payless and stuff, but did you actually think, wow, like, this is going to get worse, or I'm going to die from this? Or were you pretty hopeful at that point still?
No, it didn't change my perspective at all because my diagnosis hadn't changed.
Okay.
I just knew that I needed another surgery.
Mm-hmm. So did you go back in for it?
I did.
Wow.
But that time, I had always been scared of surgery. I was like, what if I die? What if I wake up while they're operating on me? But by this time, I was like, I've had this surgery twice before. It's going to be fine. So I was like feeling okay about it.
Yeah.
Wow.
And actually, so while I was waiting for my next surgery, another tumor grew behind my ear and was pressing against my earlobe. And then, my pediatrician had squeezed it and was like, I don't think it's anything. And then I went to another doctor and they biopsied it and said it was melanoma. So I had 2 tumors at that point.
How fast did that second one grow from the time that he didn't see it or they weren't looking at that for your first surgery? Was it like months or weeks or?
It was, let's see, my first surgery was September 20th and the second one was October 29th. So it was maybe 5 weeks later.
So this was getting aggressive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. So it just grew within a month.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so that tested out as melanoma as well.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm sorry, when you went in for your second surgery on the initial area behind or underneath your jaw, what were your thoughts at that point of what was going on behind your ear?
Well, I just thought, I actually felt a little relieved that I was having surgery and that they could remove it just in that surgery. And I also had a PET scan earlier that month, and it showed that a spot had lit up in my adenoids in like the nose area. So they were going to biopsy that. And then the night before the surgery, I felt a lump in like my clavicle area. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is this? So they did like 4 surgeries in one, in that second one. And that one was about 12 hours long.
12 hours long, but they took care of 4 different areas.
Yeah. And I was really scared for that. well, okay, I said before that I wasn't scared, but I was nervous that they would have to cut the nerve in my face because they weren't sure if the tumor was on the nerve or if it was attached to it. And I was worried because they said if they had to cut part of the nerve out, then I would have permanent damage in my facial nerve, and then they'd have to do a nerve graft from my arm. So that was like one of the first things I checked when I woke up. I was like, do I have my nerve? And my mom was like, yeah. I was like, oh, thank God.
Oh, man.
But they told me they would have to drill into my skull and remove part of the bone so that they could work around the nerve easier. So they did that, but then I woke up from the surgery. I hallucinated twice, thinking that they had missed the cancer again, and that freaked me out. But then eventually, like, you know, my mom came over and she's like, "It's okay, they got it." Wow. And that was a relief. But then the next morning, I got up to go to the bathroom, and I'm washing my hands, and I look up in the mirror and I see that half of my ear is gone. And that I was not expecting. So that was probably the most difficult part of the surgery, in addition to the temporary nerve paralysis that paralyzed the whole right side of my face, and I couldn't like move my lips or my cheek or really even close my eyelid completely at first. So that was pretty hard.
Wow. So you must have been around 20, 21 at the time?
Yeah, I was 20.
Gee, my goodness.
So no one had prepared you for that. That's a little... Did your mom know at that point about your ear and everything?
Yeah, I think maybe I just didn't understand what they were going to do, because they had said they were going to do a wide excision around where I had the tumor that was pressing against my earlobe, but I just thought, like, all right, they're going to take the skin out, but then they're going to, fix it up. And,
sure.
And I didn't think they're going to actually, I thought they would just take, like, skin. I didn't realize, like, my ear was the skin.
I wouldn't have understood that. Poor you. Golly. So here you are. How long did the paralysis last?
It took about a year for it to come back most of the way.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, and the doctor was like, "Oh, it'll take a month. You'll be fine." And then a month later, I noticed no improvement, and I was like, "Was he lying?"
Oh my! And you're thinking, "Am I an experiment? Does he not know? Like, everybody's story is different. Am I going to bounce back from this?"
I guess so. And then he was like, "No, you don't need to like do any exercises or anything." And I would have. And then I spoke to another specialist, and they're like, "Yeah, you could practice like moving your muscles." And I was like, "Man, I'm so mad. I listened to him and I didn't practice moving my muscles."
Well, who would have known? I mean, who would have known? I just feel for you. There's so much information flying at you and so many options. It's probably, you don't want to overdo it, but you don't want to underdo it either. You probably feel like you're kind of in between a rock and a hard place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Wow.
So it was hard, but I had so much support from my family and my friends and my teammates. They visited me in the hospital. I found out like a year or so later that one of my friends passed out.
No way.
Yeah, because it was kind of gruesome.
No
my goodness.
way.
Yeah. It was hard, but
wow. How long were you in the hospital?
Maybe about 3 days.
Wow. So where do you go from there? I'm just so curious how this all leads to Mexico.
Yeah. Everything leads to Mexico.
All roads lead to Mexico.
I wish they all did.
I know, everybody else should know that too.
Yeah.
Wish that.
I just wish people knew more about it. But that's what we're trying to do now, right?
Right. Let's get it out there.
Yeah. So where did you go from that point?
From that point, I rested and healed for about 6 months or 6 weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I had 1 month of radiation treatments. And those went fine. I didn't feel anything physically, really. that bad. I lost some hair, but it wasn't noticeable because it was just in the back near my ear, so I could put my hair down and no one would see it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had some metallic taste in my mouth, and my taste buds changed, and I couldn't really enjoy food that much. Oh, and then I had this integrative oncologist who recommended doing like swishing glutamine around in my mouth and swallowing it to prevent mucositis, which is like sores inside your mouth.
Right.
And I didn't enjoy that, so I did it for the most part, but then toward the end I stopped, and then I did get the mucositis, so I knew that it really did make an impact, and so that's cool, and I can share that with people now.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I've never heard that before.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And then I was really excited because I was going to go away to Hawaii with my teammates for our training trip. And I had been really stressed out because the tomotherapy machine that was giving me the radiation kept breaking down. And I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to make it on the trip because I didn't have much room for error or delay because between the time I finished radiation and the time I was going to go to Hawaii. But
sure.
I made it, thankfully. And so I was in Hawaii 2 weeks after I finished radiation, and I felt a lump under my chin. And I was like, this is curious. Not sure if that was there before. And so I asked a couple of my teammates, and neither of them had it. And so then I was like, all right, well, this doesn't seem good. And I called my mom, and my mom called my doctor, and we all agreed that it could wait until I got back from the trip.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I did. I went to my doctor in New York, and she biopsied the tumor and came back in the room a few minutes later and said it was melanoma.
Oh my goodness.
It's a bad dream that never ends.
It's just, gosh.
Oh, it's a long story.
Yeah.
I don't know. We might have to speed things up a bit.
Oh man, no, this is crazy.
Wow. So now you're just in Hawaii, you're doing better, and then all of a sudden this comes back.
Yeah.
All right.
And people have much worse and more prolonged stories than I do, but
wow.
So we had the biopsy, it showed melanoma, and then my doctor wanted me to get a CT scan that night, so we did that. And she said she would get back to me with the results the next day.
Mm-hmm.
But the next day was the first day of the spring semester of college, so my sister, she was so supportive. Through everything. She woke up with me at 4 a.m. and drove me all the way back to school so I could go to my 8 a.m. class. And then she drove back and she took the day off from work. But I waited to get the results that day, and I heard nothing, and I called my mom. I said, did the doctor get back to you? And she said no. So I was like, oh no, what's going on here? Mm-hmm. So I was like, all right, I guess I'll just get the results tomorrow. And I waited again, and I didn't get any results. So by that time I was like, all right, this can't be good. And I had an appointment to see my oncologist anyway, so we went. I was actually going to get the Chinatown bus back to New York, and after my morning classes, so I go to class and come back to my dorm, and I see my mom and my sister in the lobby there waiting for me, and I'm like, what are you guys doing here? And I was kind of oblivious at that point.
Yeah.
But they were like, oh, the weather's going to be bad, and we don't want you going home on the Chinatown bus because those are scary even on a good day. So I was like, all right, you guys are kind of silly for driving all the way here to pick me up. I would have been fine, but I was happy for a comfortable ride home.
Sure.
So I bring them up to my room, and I pack a little bag with some clothes or whatever. And then I'm like, all right, guys, let's go. And my mom was like, you need you should sit down. And so then I knew why they were there.
Gosh.
So I started to cry, and my mom said that the results weren't good. That there were the scan confirmed the tumor under my chin, but also 6 other tumors in my neck, lung, and spine. And then the worst part about the news was that because of the mutation, the kind of mutation that I have or didn't have, it disqualified me from the clinical trial that my doctor wanted me to try that would have given me about a 30% chance of surviving 5 years. So,
wow.
There weren't really any treatments that would be able to help me.
Wow.
So I felt pretty hopeless at that point. But then my mom reassured me that there were alternative treatments and things we hadn't looked into before. Things that my mom's friend had actually told us about when I had just stage 3. But we didn't want to listen to her at that time. So she was like, we're going to figure this out, and you're going to be okay. We just have to figure out what's going to work for you. And so I had some hope, and I knew my mom's friend was really smart. We thought she was a little wacky.
Yeah.
That's so true.
All the natural people are, aren't they? We're all
now
crazy.
I'm one of those wackos.
The club got bigger
Yeah.
when we joined it. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so this was a friend of your mom?
Yeah, they had been friends for a long time, and I trusted her, and so I knew they were going to do all the research that needed to be done, and I really didn't feel like doing the work, sifting through all the information on the internet. It's like, how do you know when people are telling the truth and when they're lying, when they're trying to steal your money?
It's too much, huh?
Yeah, so I was like, forget that. I'm just going to hang out with my friends. Basically, that's what I told my mom. I was like, I know you're going to do this anyway, so I'm going to do me. And
good for you.
So she was amazing, and her friend, they didn't sleep very much, and my mom was still working. She's a teacher, and I mean, my mom's friend was working too, and they just lost a lot of sleep over this research, which I was so thankful for. And ultimately, that led to me going to Mexico, and along the way, I went to the Cancer Treatment Center of America to see if they had anything unique, and it sounded like they might, but then I got there, and the first doctor I spoke to said surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy, and I was like, and I'm still going to die, right? In about 2 years? And she said, yeah. So I was like, no way.
Yeah, that's not going to work.
No, I'm looking for a cure, not something that's going to make me feel horrible and as I die.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do that. And so my mom and her friend, they found a treatment called Coley fluid, which is a mixed bacterial vaccine. It contains heat-killed bacteria. So there's the toxins from the bacteria that you inject subcutaneously, and it stimulates an immune response and helps your body identify and kill cancer cells. And this supposedly had a 60% 5-year survival rate in inoperable melanoma patients, which was like a huge number. That was very promising. And
how do you spell that?
Coley.
Okay. Fluid
or toxins or vaccine. And it was actually a mainstream treatment in the United States in the early 1900s, and it was invented or discovered by the head bone cancer surgeon at what is now Memorial Sloan Kettering. it just, unfortunately, when chemo and radiation became popular and the Dr. William Coley died, his daughter tried to keep it in use, and drug companies, or the powers that be, the head doctor at Sloan Kettering, made sure that it wouldn't be used anymore.
So is it not used anywhere in the United States at this point?
Correct. It's not.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
you had to go to Mexico or another country. Does Canada offer it, I wonder?
No.
And
the funny thing is that the supply that I was getting was actually made in Canada, and I met another patient in Mexico who was from Canada who couldn't get access to it.
Oh my gosh.
It's made in Canada, but both people, the treatment itself and the person receiving the treatment, had to travel all the way through the United States, all the way to Mexico.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
That's crazy.
That is so at this point where you, so you hadn't received it yet, you had just heard about it and heard about the 60% success rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it was offered at this hospital called CHIPSA in Mexico. And at CHIPSA, they also used a diet, or a modified version of the Gerson therapy, which is a diet and detox. You eat all organic, no salt, nothing processed. You drink 13 juices a day. And then you detoxify using coffee enemas 3 times a day. And I thought that made a lot of sense, that because Dr. Gerson thought that cancer was caused by a lack of nutrients and a burden of toxicity in your body. And so by eating healthy and detoxifying, that made a lot of sense to me, that it would help your body heal itself.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And yeah, and I had started studying nutrition in college, so I was like, okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Wow. Okay. So the CHIPSA Center, is it CHIPSA? Is that how you spell that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They closed and reopened under new management after I left there.
And what's it called now?
It's actually still called CHIPSA.
Okay.
I think there's like 1 or 2 doctors still there who were there when I went, but the person who took care of me the most, he now works at a place called St. Andrew's Clinic, and that's also in Tijuana.
Okay.
I've actually visited there almost 2 years ago now, and they relocated recently to a nicer facility. But I've had a couple of friends and acquaintances go there, and they had a really good experience there because my contact, his name is Gar Hildenbrand, and his wife Christine, they work there, and they're just such amazing, kind people. Really smart. They're able to help a lot of people. They know what to do and how to help people.
How long were you there?
I was there for 3 weeks.
3 weeks. Okay.
3 weeks.
Okay.
So you did the modified Gerson while you were there, as well as getting the what is the name of that? I forget what the
Coley?
name. The Coley
fluid.
Yep. Treatment. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I also did Laetrile, high dose vitamin C.
Intravenous?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Mm-hmm. And supplements. And I tried a hyperthermia treatment, which was basically a hot bath, but I didn't tolerate it very well. Mm-hmm. So I only did 1. And then the adventures continued when I went home, and my mom was giving me my Coley fluid injections, and I was doing the juicing and making Hippocrates soup for lunch and dinner every day. Mm-hmm. But it was such a huge job. My mom stayed home for a week to help me with all of that, and then we had volunteers from our community come and help me every morning during the week with the juicing and making the soup and making my coffee if I needed to make up a new batch. And that was such a huge blessing, because I could not have done it on my own, because the Coley fluid treatments made me really tired. And I was getting those 3 times a week. And so
when you came home, were you doing a continuous 3 coffee enemas a day?
Yeah.
So, oh my gosh. I mean, for people that haven't done those, they're pretty...
We've done... Well,
lots of them, but man, I mean, it's a time. It's pretty extensive.
That's your
thing.
life.
Yeah. I kind of felt tied to the bathroom a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Like I couldn't do anything during the day because I would always have to come home and
Just go to the
do
bathroom.
another enema.
Yeah.
Now, did you do, I know the Gerson or parts, I know a lot of people are doing sort of modified Gerson these days, and there's different Gerson clinics. We had Patrick Vickers on the show who's connected with Gerson. Awesome. He's an awesome guy. But I know with the Gerson, they do, I think it's like 13 juices on the hour every hour. Did you do all that as well?
I did, yeah.
My goodness. Did you have one of those Norwalk press juicers?
No, I don't have a well, mine's like only semi-fancy.
Okay.
Because it's not a centrifugal juicer. It's a masticating juicer, so it takes a little bit longer than your typical juicer that you buy in the store.
So how long were you doing the 3 coffee enemas a day and the, what is it, like 13 juices a day?
Mm-hmm. I think I did that for about 6 months.
Okay.
My goodness.
And then I did 2 enemas a day.
Okay.
Which I did for the next few years. I just went down to 1 a day recently in the last few months.
Now, at that time that you were doing the 3 coffee enemas a day, as well as all the juices on the hour, every single day, I'm sure there were times where you were thinking, oh my gosh, how am I going to keep doing this? But then there's probably also a side of you saying like, okay, this is working. You know, I'm feeling somewhat better. Mm-hmm. And so there's probably this weird balance going on in your mind of how can I keep doing this versus this is working, but it's just really hard.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, I saw results. I actually had shrinkage of my tumor before I got to Mexico because there was a supplement that my mom's supposedly crazy friend told us about that that she had heard miraculous stories about. And so I started drinking this supplement, and it's called ASEA. You spell it ASEA, which contains redox signaling molecules and basically helps your body heal itself. And so by the time I left Mexico, the tumor under my chin, we could no longer feel it. So I hoped that my other tumors were responding the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Yeah, and so I had a scan. I mean, thinking long term, it was a little scary because I'm like, how am I going to work and live life? But my health, if you don't have your health, you have nothing. So I knew it was my number one priority, and whatever was going to happen, I was going to make it work.
Yeah.
But especially with how it was working. So I was in Mexico for 3 weeks and then came home and continued everything for another 3 weeks. And then I had a scan 2 days before my 21st birthday, and I went to get the results the next day. And I got my blood work, my vitals done, and they brought me in the room, and I don't remember who came in first, but there were 2 different people who came in and asked me a bunch of questions before my actual doctor came in. Mm-hmm. And so he asked me the same series of questions about what I did in Mexico, what my diet was like, about Coley fluid, the coffee enemas, and he's like, not really saying anything. He's taking some notes, actually, which was like strange to me. He didn't usually do that.
Yeah, he's learning from you, apparently. You're like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he's like walking around the room. He washes his hands, and then he leans up against the countertop and puts his hand on his chin, and he's like, Wow. And I'm like, hello, I'm over here. And I was like, so what's going on? And he said, well, we don't use, PET scans aren't the best thing to monitor melanoma anymore, which was like complete baloney. And he goes, it would appear from your scan that you have no sign of active disease.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness.
And just like that.
Yeah, but I was like, wait,
what was all the drama about?
So that basically got it out of him that there was no cancer. Everything was gone.
Oh my gosh. That's pretty dramatic.
And, oh my gosh. It was such an emotional moment. So it felt like such a huge victory and such a huge burden lifted from me. And I think I cried for like 2 or 3 days straight.
Oh my gosh.
Thankful.
Yeah, because you're just releasing all of that stress. Because even though you're going through your life with all of this in the back of your mind, trying to be somewhat normal, I can only imagine it's just always there, right? It's just always a constant stress.
Yeah.
My goodness. Wow. And so,
was that the beginning of and to where you are now? Like, have you stayed 100%? Just that's your new norm? Let's see. Right now, I drink about 2.5 servings of juice a day. I do my Coley fluid injections once every like 4 to 6 weeks. Okay.
I do 1 coffee enema a day. I don't take many supplements anymore. But it is normal. It's not a burden to me. And I'm just like, I don't even think twice about any of it. With the coffee enemas in the morning, I enjoy my time. I do a devotional. Spend some time with God, and it's really relaxing. I hated coffee enemas at first because they were a huge challenge to me, and it took me a couple months to get used to them. But now I can like get up and walk around if I want to. And
wow.
So how long are you normally doing a coffee enema? How long does that take you?
It depends. If I'm rushing, I could, the time it takes I have to get the coffee out, heat it up in a pot, which takes like 3 minutes, and then pour it in the bucket, let it flow in, takes another 3 minutes or so, and then you hold it for 15 minutes, and then you go to the bathroom. It could take like 35 to 40 minutes.
Total.
But then I can multitask now, so I could start making my juice if I want to.
Wow.
Have you heard of or used there's the eggplant extract called BEC5? Have you heard about that?
No, I'm not familiar with that actually.
There's a doctor up in Washington State named Dr. Jonathan Wright. And he talks about this topical cream that is purported to, I hate to say the C word, but it's purported to get rid of cancer. And it's called B as in boy, BEC5. And it's an eggplant derivative extract topical cream. And this Dr. Jonathan Wright has done a lot of research into it, and it says some pretty amazing things about it. And
wow.
Yeah,
I mean, so
yeah, I had never heard. I mean, it's amazing what you hear about, because I had never heard of the Coley fluid either. Yeah.
You know what I think is so amazing is that there's so many things that have worked for people.
Yeah. Right.
I don't know if you've heard of the book and Dr. Kelly Turner's research called Radical Remission.
Yeah, I think we've reached out to her to be on the show. Yeah.
Oh, cool.
We haven't had her on yet, but yeah, she's amazing.
Yeah. I love that book and her research and the work she does, because it just proves to me that like there's so many different ways that you can heal your body, and no situation is hopeless. Nothing is impossible.
Yeah.
And so I love, that there's hope for everyone. And I hope that people will realize that.
So, if people want, I did a solo episode a couple years ago, episode 126, where I put a lot of resources. So if people are interested, then go to extremehealthradio.com/126. And I referenced the BEC5, and we're going to be putting some of this stuff on there as well. So those tumors that were on your spine, and where was the lung? Where? What's the deal with those now?
They've never come back.
Isn't that amazing? So one was on your spine, one was on your lung?
Or 2 on the spine?
Yeah. 1 on my spine, 2 in my lung, the rest in my neck.
So this has completely altered the course of your life, I would imagine.
Totally. It made me want to find out what the purpose of my life was, and if God was real. And in the Bible it says, "You'll seek me and you'll find me when you search for me with all your heart."
Yeah. And
that's what I believe I've done. I put my trust in Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and that's what feels like the start of the rest of my life, because before, I thought, oh my gosh, life is so amazing now. I was floating on cloud 9 for a while, and but then I started having the same negative thoughts that I had before, and I was like, this cannot happen. I can't live my life the same way as before. So then that's when I sought out God, and that's after I made that leap of faith, or chose to have faith. That's when I felt like I had found what I had been looking for, or what I had been missing before, and what gave me joy every day, and just hope to wake up every morning and enjoy life.
Before all this, did you, looking back, would you have thought you had a faith and a belief in God before all this, and it just became more real, or did you really realize it wasn't really existing in your life before?
I had grown up in church, going to church kind of on and off, and I wasn't really sure if I believed in God, but if he were real, he felt like this guy in the sky who was looking down on me for my sins. So I didn't really want to turn to him, except, when I was desperate, I was praying for a miracle, because people had encouraged me to pray for a miracle and trust God. And I was like, well, I don't know, but okay, God, if you're real, please I would really, really, really like a miracle.
And you got your miracle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, I don't really view it as a miracle, because I think that, and I'm sure you would agree, I think there are a lot of, I had to do a lot of work.
Yes.
God ultimately did the healing, but there were reasons that I healed, because I did, take away the things that were causing my cancer, I believe, and then gave my body a fighting chance with all the therapies that I did.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I know exactly what you mean, because you do hear a story about someone having a spontaneous healing, more of like I woke up and I didn't have any more tumors miracle. But I think you're right. Everybody on this show, most everybody we talk to is along the same line of reasoning and thinking, and almost like just having your mind illuminated by God to go, here's some ways to heal. You're right, ultimately do, I'm in charge of the healing ultimately, but just to reconnect with, I think, the modalities that we're not even aware of in this day and age, and just what he's put on the planet for healing. It's pretty mind blowing, actually, and pretty eye opening. Yeah. And if we would just live the life we were meant to live, a lot of problems would go away. Like if we ate what we were supposed to eat and didn't stress so much, we could eliminate a lot of problems.
So with your life now,
that's what I was just going to ask.
Yeah,
Are you living the life?
I'm just curious. Did you have a plan? Like, I want to do X, Y, Z with my life when you're 17, when this all started, and then now it's something different. I would imagine so. I'm going to go with a yes on that.
I don't know why I'm laughing so much. Well, when I graduated high school, I thought, all right, I'm going to go to college, hopefully meet my future husband in college, and graduate with a good degree, and hopefully find a job that I like. But I wasn't thinking big. I didn't think there was a whole lot to life other than that. I didn't think life was super exciting in any way. And then after I got my healing, I just thought, oh, holy cow, life is such an incredible gift, and I want to live passionately, and I desperately wanted to know the purpose of my life. And so I prayed for 6 months or so, after I graduated. It was actually one of the most stressful times of my life because I had no idea what I was going to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah, because up until then, even though you've been going through all of this, at least you at some point had a plan. You kind of knew what you were doing with stuff.
I had a goal.
Right.
And so when I was graduating college, I had no real goal.
Wow.
So then there was a motivational speaker who came to speak to the athletes when I was sick, and I had connected with him, and he was a great guy. And I kept in touch with him through my alternative cancer journey. And I had emailed him and thanked him for being so encouraging when and believing in me when nobody else did. Because he said, I believe you're going to get well. And I was like, thank you. That's such a breath of fresh air because everybody thinks I'm going to die. Mm-hmm. But I had emailed him and thanked him for doing that. And he was like, what are you up to? And I was like, well, I'm babysitting my nephew right now and don't know what to do with my life. I'm praying that God will show me what to do. And he's like, oh, why don't, and I sent him the speech I gave at my high school, around that time for the National Honor Society. They'd asked me to do that. And so I was like, well, it went pretty well. I got a standing ovation. And he was like, why don't, would you be interested in becoming a speaker like me? I think you'd be great at it. And I was like, oh God, thank you so much. Wow. This is the answer to my prayer. And although it was like a crazy, scary idea, that's what I began to pursue. And so I did that for a little while. But then it just seemed like God closed the doors on that. Mm-hmm. And people were telling me, oh, you should talk about health. And eventually I listened to them and I enrolled in the Institute for Integrative Nutrition's health coaching program, which I'm actually in now. It started last November and I graduate this upcoming November or December. Oh man, it's just been so cool. I love the program. It's helping me learn how to coach people and be kind of like a health counselor. And I started working with people who have cancer. I'm working with a friend who has MS, and she's doing amazing. Oh my gosh, it's so exciting and so fun. She's actually following the WAHLS, WAHLS diet / protocol. Mm-hmm. There's a doctor, an MD, who got, I forget what exactly they call it, but it's the worst kind of MS you could have. It's very debilitating. She was in a recliner or a reclined wheelchair. She could barely move, and all she did was change her diet, and she is now super fit, giving lectures, totally healthy, and she wrote a book about it. Mm-hmm. That the world is blessed to have now.
Oh yeah.
So now with my life and purpose, I'm just so thankful and so thankful that I feel like I finally have direction for my life and a passion, a way to help people and use my experiences for good. And if I had to go back or if I had the chance, I mean, if I was forced to, you know what I mean?
Right.
I will so go back and do it all over again to get to where I am now, to have what I have, to be living the life that I'm living. And I'm just so thankful for exactly how things played out. I'm thankful that I did do the traditional treatments because, not because of what it did to my body. If I were thinking selfishly, I would say no, I wouldn't do the treatments again, but I would because I would want to show the world that in a lot of cases the treatments won't work and it's only going to set you back, and that natural and alternative treatments are really what's going to heal you permanently or hopefully permanently.
So you had radiation and surgery, but you never had actual chemo, is that right?
Well, I did do one round of chemo pills, and that was when I had the stage 4 diagnosis and I was searching for what would cure me. I waited about 3 weeks to go to Mexico, and I was getting a lot of pressure from my oncologist. And so I did do one, quick round. And, but after that, when I decided to go to Mexico, I was like, yep, done with that. no more.
You know, it's interesting that we have, because I got into doing the work that we're doing now as a result of my mom being diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma in 1995, and they gave her I think like a 10% chance or less of survival. And it's just so interesting because it's like this massive cognitive dissonance that occurs in people, because people would expect, for me being the host of this show and being all about alternative health, that I would be 100% unequivocally against traditional treatments. But my mom, back in 1995, she we didn't know anything about natural stuff, and so she went to the City of Hope. And apparently, there's only, I think Chris Work says this, but there's only 1 or 2 types of cancers that chemo actually works for. And you probably know what they are. I forget, but I think non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is one of them. And so my mom got a bone marrow transplant. I donated platelets. I'd go up to the City of Hope a few times a week, donate platelets. She had radiation, she had surgery and chemotherapy. And she's still alive today, which is insane. Wow. I mean, 1995 to now, that's 21 years ago. You know, and so, you know, like you were just saying that, you know, a part of your thing was you're glad you did traditional treatment, you know, and so just having done that, you can help people go through if they're going through traditional or sort of a hybrid approach, you know?
Yeah. And I think, well, I know that at St. Andrew's Clinic, sometimes in some cases they use low dose chemotherapy because it can be helpful. And I don't know. I'm not an expert, and I wouldn't naturally think that chemo would be helpful, but maybe it does help damage the cancer cells. And I trust Gar that he knows what he's doing and he has success. So, and I know that some people, even if chemo would be just completely harmful, they're afraid to let go of it or to not do it. So they do a complementary approach, and some people heal that way. And so if it works for them, I'm not going to try to convince them to do otherwise.
Yeah, I think that's called insulin potentiation therapy, where that's exactly. Like that low dose. Yeah.
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 Sorry.
No, go
ahead. And I think in some cases people heal in spite of doing chemotherapy and things. So, even if it's not what might be best for them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
The God factor.
Yeah, the God factor.
Yeah, I think that about your mom, you know. I think, gosh, she's here because God wanted her to be here. Most people would have died just from the treatment alone. So if you're supposed to be here, you're going to be here.
Wow.
Yeah,
so
I think so.
So now you are helping people, and people are contacting you, and you're able to
work with people
individually and coach them and things.
Wow, Bailey, what a
story. My gosh. I mean, it's almost like you lived three persons' lives in the first 20 years of your life.
Well, I feel so blessed, and I feel like I can't compare my story with anyone else's. I think I feel that relationships are like the most important part of life, and for someone to go through a relationship struggle, I feel like that's got to be harder than a physical struggle. But I don't know. I'm just so thankful to be where I am now, and so it's a blessed life.
Yeah,
That's
I echo
cool.
that. Can I share something really quick?
Yeah.
I woke up this morning, and I always start with my journaling and my quiet time too. But this morning I just wrote, "But all I know is that hope and love redeem all of the messiness of this broken world. We are trying to be spreaders of those two things." And I underlined hope and love, and I just think it's very appropriate that you're on the show today because, I was getting really teary and crying when you were sharing about it. But hope is why we're all doing this. And you know, just this week we had 2 friends diagnosed with cancer, and one had an amputated arm, and another good friend of Justin's is in pretty bad shape with some jaw cancer. And it's like, gosh, this is why we wake up and do what we do and talk to people like you, and why you're doing your work in the world. It's just, I think when you have a lack of hope is when, you know, the real problems begin. So I just want to thank you so much, truly from the bottom of my heart, for sharing this story, because I think the people that hear this, the ears that it's going to fall on, the people who are ready to hear the message of hope is exactly why you're here.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
So
that
thank
gave
you.
me goosebumps, and I'm so sorry about what your friends are going through.
Well, we'll share the show with them. This is why we all wake up in the morning, and I just think it's so cool to connect with people like you who are letting their life just be used in exactly the way it's supposed to be. It's just really a blessing. So thank you.
Thank you. And I think community, you mentioned just now, I think that's so important. And I actually just created a Facebook group for people who are using complementary and alternative treatments because I got the sense from a couple people that they were looking for community. And I was like, oh, duh. Like, I mean, well, I don't know if I felt like I was different from everybody else who was going through cancer at the time, or I just didn't want to talk about it more than I had to, but I didn't seek out a cancer community. Mm-hmm. But I think a lot of people are, and especially in the alternative and complementary cancer world, it can be so lonely.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to cry. I think I started the group about a week ago, and there are a few people in it now, and just to see how people are encouraging each other, it's just such a beautiful thing. And I'm just really thankful that I got the idea, that God gave me the idea, and that I did it. And I hope that it makes people feel more hopeful. There's so many stories out there, man. It's just people don't know about them. So you can't have hope if you don't know that it's there. Or, I mean, if the more people who share, the more hope and love that there's going to be. And
yes.
Yeah, I think that every person that's gone through what you've been through and you come out the other side, I really do think, I wish and I hope that they would all have some sort of platform to be able to share their story. There should be. That's why we talked to Dr. Terry Walls that you were speaking about. She's been on our show.
No way.
Yeah, she's amazing. And there's all kinds of people that we've talked to. Dr. Patrick Vickers, I mentioned earlier. We have a whole cancer section, and but it's something entirely different to have people on like you. And Chris Warwick, and there's been a bunch of people that have come on and shared their cancer stories. It's just different when you're speaking with someone who's gone through it, because there's an emotional, spiritual side to everything. And the people that are just sort of administering the treatments, although they have amazing amounts of science and everything backing them, and the reasons why what they do, it's just completely different to talk to someone who's been through it. And I think that's where the real power is, because when you're going through something like this, you don't know who to trust a lot of times. You don't know if the doctors are saying stuff like you're saying before, are they in it for the money or whatever? But when you're listening to someone share their story and what works for them, I mean, that's ultimately what gives, I think, real hope to people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the most powerful thing that you could find, are healing stories of someone who's overcome what you're going through. And that's one of my number one recommendations for people who have a diagnosis. I'm like, look into these stories. And when I was looking for hope, Gar referred me to a couple cancer survivors, melanoma survivors, and I listened to their stories, and I was, I wanted to believe them, and I was like, is there a reason for me not to trust them? I don't see, I couldn't find a reason not to trust them, and I didn't have anywhere else to turn to. So I was like, all right, well, I'm just going to trust the world, trust in humanity, and I believe most people are altruistic, and they, sometimes you might get caught in a trap, but for the most part, I don't think that's a big thing.
There was that lady in, I'm not sure if you heard about her, or girl, I'm not sure. She was in Australia, and she was busted for coming up with a whole story, and she had I forget what she was doing. She sold a cookbook or something, and But she was busted for not telling the truth. But I think like you're right. I mean, you might get one person out of probably 10,000 or less that would be
ill-intentioned,
you know.
And I think you could just be smart about it. Like if there's signs that maybe they're not who they claim to be, like then exercise caution in that. But if you don't have a reason not to trust them, then trust them.
Sure. Yeah, no. Is there a way, like you were sharing about the Facebook community, for people to connect up with that?
Yes.
How do they do that?
Oh my gosh. I need to go do some research real quick and remember what the name of it is.
No. I know it's new.
The picture of it's called Conquer Cancer with Complementary and Alternative Methods, and you can request to join the group. The picture is a picture I took when I went to Mexico the second time with a friend. It's like the background of the sky with the Mexican flag and the big Mexico sign as you're about to cross the border.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, and then they can also find you on Bailey O'Brien and send you .com and send you an email. If they can't find it, they can contact you there.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
Wow, what a cool thing. So you're just helping people now and giving talks and doing interviews like this and just helping people individually.
Yeah, I like working with people individually, but I want to reach as many people as I can. So I guess in a way, I hope that one day I won't be able to do individual coaching like Chris Wark has experienced. I know he was doing that, but he just had too many people reaching out to him. And now he created his Square One online coaching program that walks you through steps that he believes will help you heal your body. So one day I think that would be pretty cool to do something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. So he's doing Square One.
Yeah, sorry.
No, I didn't know that.
So
that's
much
great.
to talk about. Yeah. And eventually I would love to have a book published. I worked on one last summer, but it became too much of a thing for me and I took a break from it. So at the right time, hopefully I'll publish a book.
Well, reach out to us when that's done and we'll do another show on that.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Be great.
You keep going, Bailey. It's amazing. Keep doing what you're doing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
So it's,
and you guys too.
Oh, thank you.
So amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, that's one of our things is we just want people to know that they have other choices other than what their doctor, because, people don't realize that doctors, they're great people, but they just don't have the time or the ability, if financially, because most doctors have to see X amount of patients every single day in order just to pay their bills and their everything else, and they don't have time to do the cutting edge research. And so when you talk to a doctor, God bless them, but they just don't know, and so if they don't know something, they I feel like a lot of times feel like they have to know something. They can't be sort of in the middle, living in the mystery. So they have to say, well, there's been no clinical trials or no XYZ, and there's no research, and because they have to give a definitive answer, because I feel like a certain personality type becomes a doctor. And so when people ask questions like, why doesn't my doctor know this, or why doesn't my doctor tell me this, or anything like that, it's merely because they just don't have the time to research. And there's so much going on in the alternative natural world that I share this story all the time, but a friend of ours, Dr. Richard Massey, was saying that he attends multiple conferences a year on health and alternative nutrition. And he was saying that after the conferences are done, all of the naturopathic doctors will go into their private hotel room and sort of swap stories about what's going on, what's working, what's not. And he was telling me one time that if they were able to, without any hindrance from the FDA, from the government, from
no censorship, right?
Yeah, from the medical establishment, if they were able to roll out everything that they were talking about in those private hotel rooms, that there would just be no more cancer. It would just be a thing of the past. But we're stuck in this bizarre system, and so I'm so glad to share, for you to share your story, because it's another way to crack the armor and let people know there's hope, even if your doctor has never heard about anything that we talked about.
Yeah. Yeah, my doctor said just keep doing what you're doing. So he wasn't against it, and I think he was curious about it. But there's so much working against doctors, even like those who believe in alternative and natural healing, or who are open to it, but get bombarded by lies. It's
yeah.
I mean, you
difficult.
can't. I don't blame them, because they probably started out wanting to help people, and there's nothing. I mean, that's an amazing thing to do, and then you realize quickly that you becoming indoctrinated, and then you've got, it's just like a lot of people with bills and debt that you have to pay, and then you have to sort of sustain this lifestyle, and you don't have time to research. It becomes this snowball effect, and certain people get out, like this doctor I was talking about, Dr. Richard Massey, gets out of the system, and then he's finally able to sort of look over the horizon and see the big picture of everything.
With fresh eyes.
With fresh eyes, and hopefully that's what we're doing here, is allowing people to see a little bit further than they were before.
And I think when you do that, you risk your life. A doctor will risk their life doing that, taking that bold step out. I think there have been a lot of doctors who have paid the ultimate sacrifice for that.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I'm so happy you're doing what you're doing. Reach out to us, like I said, when you're done with that book, and we'll talk about it.
Thank you. That would be so wonderful. I just, like I said, I want as many people to have hope as possible, and so you guys keep at it as well. And I'm so glad that you reached out to me, because I love following you now. So
thank you.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. That's awesome. And I saw you. I go over to Chris's website every now and then and check out what he's got going on. And I saw his interview with you, and so I watched it, and I thought, okay, we gotta get your story out, because it's there's going to be a lot of people dealing with what you have to deal with, or what you had to deal with, and I just want them to know there's options. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. God bless you guys.
Awesome.
You too, Bailey.
Thanks, Bailey. Stay on the line really quickly, and we're going to close out the show. And I just want to thank everyone, seriously, for joining us on today's show. We really appreciate it. If you like the link, go to extremehealthradio.com/126 for that cancer resource link that I shared during the show. And then the link for this particular page will be extremehealthradio.com/446. And then the link to Bailey's website is BaileyObrien.com, BaileyObrien, BaileyObrien.com. That's her website. And then you'll be able to find her Facebook group and everything that she's got going on. And you can contact her directly and get support that way. So stay tuned with what she's doing. So is that it?
I think that was a great show.
that was a lot of fun.
I'm over here still wiping my eyes.
All right. Awesome, everyone.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. If you found that this show was helpful to you in any way, please pass it on to your friends. We'd greatly appreciate that. That would help us a lot, get the word out to more people to share more hope. So we would appreciate that. In any event, thank you so much. We're doing 3 shows a week now, so stay tuned. We didn't have a show yesterday because we had just come back from Lake Tahoe on our vacation. We wanted an extra day to relax. But Monday, Tuesday, Friday are the days that we're doing shows, so stay tuned for everything we have going on. We'd appreciate that, and you can listen to the ones that interest you. And that's about it. Thank you, everybody.
Love you guys. Yeah. Stay hopeful, and we'll catch you when?
On the next episode, of course.
Sounds good.
All right, Bailey O'Brien episode. What do we got?
446.
446. That's right. Episode 446.
I tell you, between that and Troy Casey last week,
that was
we had
an
some emotionally charged episodes.
I know,
which I love, because I feel like that's the heart of all this. That's why, again, like I can't reiterate enough. That's why we all wake up and do what we do, just not to make people cry or get emotionally.
I woke up today to make people cry. Mission accomplished.
That sounds so crazy, but you know what I mean. Like this is real life, and this is the stuff that people are dealing with and have dealt with, and I cry not because I'm sad, obviously, but because there is just so much hope and so much beauty in the messy, chaotic hopelessness that people feel before they see, like you said, the horizon, and they can see farther, and then all of a sudden, it's like what they gain. I mean, what I love from her today was not only just her story of encouragement and hope to people, but it wasn't even surviving cancer and healing. It's she found her life purpose.
I know.
You know?
Yeah.
I love those stories because you're on one track doing one thing and it's like God completely has another plan for you, and bam, it's going to take this bizarro story most of the time for people to really get on it's like the whole other train. It's not even the same track. It's not even the same train. You jump on a whole new system and experience this depth of life and purpose that you just couldn't have had before.
I know. It's such a powerful story. Such a powerful story. Yeah, I'm just so glad that she's doing what she's doing. And helping people to understand there's more options than what the doctors tell them, you know. I don't know if you know this, but a friend of my mom's was also a swimmer, and he's, I think, 16 or something. Not a friend of my mom's, a friend's son.
I remember
of my mom, who's currently now 16 or 17 or something like that, has some kind of cancer too. I forget what kind. But he was a competitive swimmer. And, you know, like Bailey was saying, you know, those swimming pools have a massive amounts of chlorine and chemicals. And you add that to an already toxic lifestyle combined with stress and poor diet. You know, it's the
onslaught on your poor little system.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wouldn't surprise me. I wonder what the rate of that is, you know, of the cancer rate among swimmers.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I think that eventually, as soon as more and more people start waking up, all of our pools are going to be switched from chlorinated pools to ozonated pools. That's the way to go, or salt pools.
How cool would that be?
That would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Get back to the roots.
A friend of mine has a jacuzzi that I go in every now and then. Actually, I haven't been in there in a couple of years, but I don't even like going in there because it just reeks of chlorine. And every time I have gone in there, I come back and I do a sauna, I do a sweat, I wipe off right away. I drink green juice. I'm doing all these things because guilty. Yeah, you're
knowing
just
what you know,
breathing the chlorine from the fumes coming off of the jacuzzi.
I know,
and I don't like going in that
not
anymore.
Only is your skin sitting in that, but you're breathing up that really makes me nervous, especially knowing what I know now about chlorine and chloramine and all those things too. So, I have to tell you though, I sat in the jacuzzi a few times a couple of years ago, twice in a row, like a month or two apart, and I got bladder infections.
Really?
Which was very strange to me.
Oh.
So I'm very cautious about that. Was a big wake up call for me. I thought, what is going on with this? Sitting in this cesspool of chemicals just is really irritating and made me really nervous. And I hadn't had a bladder infection like ever from chlorine. And I remember smelling those two specific times at your parents' community jacuzzi.
Oh, really?
It was overpowering, the amount of chemical. It smelled worse than normal, and I thought, wow, this is just like,
oh my gosh,
causing me some major problems. So,
wow,
yeah, I look at everything a little bit different than I used to as well.
Yeah, it's important to realize like where your stressors are, you know, emotionally as well, spiritually, in your life, the stresses that you hold, the stresses that you don't let out, where you're putting stress on your body, because stress, people think, oh, just one thing, but you know, drinking water is a stress on your body. Your body has to now all of a sudden work to process that water. I mean, it's everything is a stress. Every thought that you have, everything you think about, every, you know, thing that you watch, TV, every person you interact with, every food you eat, everything you drink, every stressful situation you're in, all of these things
add
to the
onslaught.
Add to the onslaught, and
the healing.
Well, if you don't
your
do
thoughts and things, but about and how you use that to reverse it and change the program.
Yeah. So it's important to realize that, you know, all of these things aren't just innocuous events that are not part of any, you know, process of how your body either is healthy or is not healthy. You know, they all play a role.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
You know, recognizing, looking at your life and saying, okay, am I weak here? Am I strong here? And then figuring out, okay, my job is causing lots of stress. And how do I fix that? Do I change my mindset and, you know, work on myself emotionally to be able to overcome my job, or do you just get out of the situation and change jobs?
Right.
And only each one of us can answer that. But it's going to be unique to all of us. And so when we do that with food and we do that with toxic people and all of these things, you know, it's important. It's an overall holistic approach, I think, to eliminating the stress. Because if you can eliminate stress, it seems to me that that's the cause of disease. You know?
Yeah, if you treat the body but you don't treat the mind, I have a feeling, in a lot of people's cases, it's just going to show up somewhere else. I mean, the body stores all this stuff, the mind, it's so powerful, the heart.
Yeah.
Releasing all that stuff. That's why I think that really deep emotional, spiritual work, along with any kind of physical thing. Sometimes I think you hear stories about people just thinking themselves and believing themselves back into health. You know, that's so powerful.
Yeah, there's
so
a
powerful
person. Do you know about that book on Amazon, like the laughing cure for cancer?
Yes, yeah.
You know, someone just laughed their way. I mean, allegedly, I haven't read the book, but that's the story, is that they use laughter to heal from cancer. I'm not sure if that's all they use, but...
Sounds insane, but you know what? Crazier things have happened, so bring on the crazy.
And bring on the crazy. Now we're the crazy ones telling everyone about food and stuff.
Right? I don't care.
We're the crazy ones.
We're keeping going.
That's right.
Keeping going.
All right, guys. So that was episode 446. If you would like, I mentioned a bunch of other people. You can go to our archives section. We've got obviously 445 shows that are free. If you want to go to the show archives on the top of our website, you can go scroll through and do a Control F on your keyboard, or Command F if you have a Mac, and search for doctors and see if they've been on our show. So that's how you can find a lot of the archives on the show archives page. And we're going to be back on Friday with another interview. So stay tuned for that. And if you are join our newsletter list, we email on Mondays and Fridays as well to let you guys know what's going on with us. And new shows and all that kind of stuff. Summits, there's all kinds of free summits always going on right now. By the way, there's an Alzheimer and Dementia Summit going on right now. I should have mentioned.
How long does that go for?
I'm not sure when that goes for, but it started yesterday, July 25th, 2016. I think it goes for 10 days or 7 days.
Is this the first one you've heard of, that's a summit for this these specific illnesses?
I think so, for Alzheimer's and dementia.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you know anyone that has that, gosh, what is the link for that? I'll put the link on this show page. How about that?
Okay, cool.
extremehealthradio.com/446, and you can sign up. It's register. It's all free. So anyway, guys, thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Love you guys. Share the show with your friends if you can. Visit our store if you can, and also buy through our Amazon link. That would help support the show as well. We really appreciate that. Our Amazon link is on the right-hand side of the website, so that would help. That is it. Thank you guys so much. We love you all, and we'll catch you guys on the next episode.
Hey everybody, this is Josie, Justin's mum. Don't tell him, but I know he would absolutely be really happy if you would sign up to his free weekly newsletter. And don't forget to share this with all your friends. This is the buzzing bumblebee signing off.
That's so good.
Oh my gosh.
No material on this blog is intended to suggest that you should not seek professional medical care. Always work with qualified medical professionals, even if you educate yourself in the field of live food, nutrition, and alternative medicine. I'm not a doctor, nor am I offering readers medical advice of any kind. None of the information offered here should be interpreted as a diagnosis of any disease, nor an attempt